Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Key, and today I'm going to be filming for you guys my very first astrology with Key video. So I've been wanting to make like astrology videos for a really long time, and it's been one of those things where for those of you who like follow me on Instagram, it's been one of those things where like I've been saying this for like maybe like 6 months. I made it known to the public, but I've been saying this for literally like a year that like I want to make, like, to myself, that I want to make astrology videos, but I never really found the right time to, like, not even the right time, but I never really found the perfect moment that I said to myself like I'm ready. It's either that I would give myself excuses that I was too busy, or like I would give myself the excuse that like I don't know where to start. And don't get it twisted, like astrology is really a broad topic, and even right now before I filmed this I was saying to myself, I'm just like, where do I start? But the whole point is, if I don't start somewhere and figure out where I'm gonna branch off from, I'm probably just never gonna start. So I decided today that we are going to start off by talking about the planets. So why did I choose the planets to start off with? So basically, I feel like I could have chose two directions. I could have started off from the signs, or I could have started off with the planets. And I just thought, because when I talk about the signs, I want to give a really in-depth analysis. I don't want to just give like a cookie cutter explanation and symbolism of the signs. I want it to be in depth. So I thought that this route would be easier for me. So we're going to start off talking about the planets. So we're all currently on a journey to self-discovery, self-understanding, and self-knowledge. And personally, I believe the planets are here to assist us in that. Every planet, whether you realize it or not, plays a very active role in our lives. Some play more of like a leading role, some have a secondary role, and some are kind of just like they're chilling in the background, but they're still of importance too, because they all have energies that are affecting us on a daily, whether you're cognizant of it or not. The whole point is, though, no matter what role a particular planet plays in your life, because it's different to all of us, you know, I just believe that it's very important that you understand its role, why it's there, and just what they represent on a whole. Because before you can even begin to understand your birth chart, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in other videos, but a birth chart is basically just the snapshot of when you were born, of where the planets were at the time of your birth, and it shows you basically where the planets were. But in order to understand their placements and what that particular placement means, you need to understand the planet itself and what the planet is there for and what the planet is showing you. So that's basically going to be the video today. I'm just going to be talking about the planets and what it represents and what you can learn from it. Before I begin, I'm just going to point this out. In day-to-day life, we don't really consider the sun and the moon actually planets, but I just wanted to insert this before I started explaining the planets. But in astrology, the sun and the moon are in fact considered planets, because even though they're not physical planets, they still exude energies that affect a certain aspect of who you are. As I said, the sun and the moon in astrology are considered planets, so I just wanted to clear that up so there's no confusion when I refer to the planets as such. So the first planet that we are going to talk about is the sun. I'm going to try to make this very brief so we just can kind of get a quick synopsis of what each of them represent, because I don't want to make this video too long. So the sun is basically you. The people go to you and they be like, what's your sign? They're referring to your sun sign. So when we go through all of the planets, we have the sun, we have the moon, we have Mercury, we have Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn, and Pluto. So when somebody most commonly comes up to you and says, what's your sign? They're referring to the sun. And I'm going to get into why. The sun is you. The sun is your personality. It's one of the most influential planets. It's one of the most influential aspects of who you are as an individual. It determines your personality, and it basically lays the foundation for who you are as a person in this world. When you look at somebody's personality, it determines many aspects about them. So are you shy? Are you outgoing? Are you more of like a structured and routine-based person? Or are you more carefree and adventurous? Also, when looking at your sun sign, you can also find out in an individual what they deem to be important. So for example, let's say that you have your sun in Virgo. So when somebody says, what's your sign? And you tell them your sun sign and it's in Virgo, automatically those who have a lot of knowledge on what Virgo is, they're going to draw from that you place a lot of importance on structure and organization. That's just a common one that comes up. And I know for me, like I have my sun in Virgo, so commonly, because I know that that is fact, that's what I draw, one of the first things that I think of when I think of them. But let's say you ask somebody else their sign and they say, I'm a Sagittarius. Then it's like, okay, so Sagittarius is more like carefree and adventurous and doesn't really like to stay in one place. They kind of like, as I said, like adventurous. So that's kind of like what you can draw for them. And that's really important to them. Like Sagittarius's ability to be free is what they deem important. So like I said, your sun sign can tell you many things. It can tell you your personalities, your values, what you deem important, and just who you are as an individual. Now that you know what the sun represents, when you look up your birth chart, now you know exactly what you're looking for. So whatever your sun is placed in is going to tell you a lot about who you are as a person. So let's talk about now the moon. So the moon is your emotions. Your moon sign is also a very influential aspect in who you are as an individual. So that's the case because it's your whole emotional world. It's the part of you that you know. The sun sign, when people get to know you, is what people see, but they don't really see the moon sign until they get deep enough, right? But that's the part of you that you know best because it's your internal world, it's your emotional world. So yeah, when looking at the moon sign deals with and represents a lot of things and can help you understand a lot of things. So as I said, because it's your emotional world, it's like, what makes you happy? What makes you sad? Where do your potential triggers lie? How do you handle conflict? Your moon sign is basically just the foundation for understanding your emotional world on a deeper level. Also, through your moon sign, you can find out a lot about your patience level and your temperament. So yeah, like in general, it deals with your emotions, your instinct. A lot of the times too, your unconscious behaviors. Another point that I want to point out about your moon sign is this sign is considered the secondary most influential planet because of the fact that it modifies the sun sign. So your sun sign is like the most important because of the fact that it tells you about you, but then your moon sign goes on to modify that, which is why we can have or see a lot of circumstances where two people that have the same sun sign can still read a little bit differently. So we can have two people that are Virgos. So we have Virgo number 1, Virgo number 2. Off the bat, they can have a lot of similar characteristics and traits because of the fact that they have the same personality to a certain extent. But then when you're carrying on to now analyze what can make these people, or what can make their what can make them different, we can look at the secondary thing, the moon sign. So somebody who has a Virgo sun and an Aries moon is going to behave completely, or not completely, but is going to behave somewhat differently than somebody who has, let's say, a Virgo sun and a Taurus moon. So in an example like this, like let's say when it comes to conflict and when it comes to triggering situations, the way the Virgo sun with an Aries moon is going to handle that is going to be completely different than the Virgo sun that has a Taurus moon. Aries energy is known to be quick to anger. It's fiery, it's hot. When you look at Taurus energy, though, Taurus is more like a slow building up progression. So in conflict, a Taurus is probably going to take the approach where they're not affected as much when it comes to conflict. In fact, it really takes them a long time to build up to the point where they are angry, versus Aries, where it's like a light switch. It can flick really fast and it's like boom. So like I said, moon signs are very important because it modifies your sun sign. So in an example like that, you can see how two people with the same sun sign, based on the situation that you put them in, you could see different characteristics of them shine through based on the moon. But continuing on, we're going to be talking about one of my personal favorite planets, and that is Mercury. Mercury, in short, represents your intelligence and how you communicate. So I don't know, like I really just love Mercury. I do. And I think it's because it rules my sun sign. So like I have like a special place in my heart for this planet. I just love it. Basically, as I said, Mercury deals with how you communicate and your intelligence. This can tell you a lot about your learning style and how you are in social interactions. Are you a talkative person or are you more closed off? If you are talkative, then how do you speak and in what tone? Do you have more of an authoritative tone when you speak, or are you more of like a timid tone? You know, it's like those things can be determined based on where your Mercury is. Are you more like passive when you speak, or are you more upfront and dominant? Are you structured in your speech? Or are you the type of person that you tend to move from one point to another and you're a little bit more sporadic and kind of like all over? That's another thing that you can tell by your placement of your Mercury. Memory and written communication is also something that can be found out by your Mercury sign. All in all, things just to do with the mental aspect of things and intelligence overall can be figured out through your Mercury. So it's very important because when you look at your Mercury placement, you can find out too, where do your strengths when it comes to communication lie, right? And this can help you in so many other aspects of your life, like maybe in careers as well. Because let's say you have a really good Mercury placement and the particular placement that you have for your Mercury allows you to be really good with public speaking. That can assist you with job opportunities in this life. You know what I mean? So based on finding out what your Mercury sign is, it doesn't just tell you about your intellect and how you speak and how you express yourself, but it also tells you, like, kind of in a indirect way, what else can you use these strengths and these gifts for. Now we're going to talk about the second favorite planet of mine, and that is Venus. So Venus deals with love and beauty. So your Venus placement tends to tell you a lot about in this life, like your pleasures and what you're attracted to. It can also tell you a lot about sexual aspects of yourself as well. Like usually when you're looking at sexual, you kind of want to go to Mars, but you can tell when you're looking at more like sensual aspects of things, like you can refer to your Venus sign. So it basically tells you who you are in reference to love. You can find out a lot from your Venus sign. What type of person are you in relationships? What do you like? What don't you like? How do you relate in intimate relationships? Like what kind of a partner are you? And you can also tell from a person's Venus placement of what kind of partner that they subconsciously desire as well, in combination to what type of partner are they. Personally, Venus is another one of those planets that I feel like it's important to get to know, because it's like when you're out there and you're looking right at partners and you kind of want to be able to analyze like who are you really and what do you want when it comes to love, like what do you want when it comes to intimacy, what are you attracted to, like, you know. Even for me, a long time ago, before I read my birth chart, I kind of had that part of me figured out. But it's like once I did my birth chart and I figured everything out, I'm like, this just makes so much sense because I already knew that that's what I liked. But based on the sign that my Venus was placed in, I'm like, wow, like this just confirms it. You can find out a lot about yourself to do with relationships and things on a more intimate level by referencing your Venus. Next, we're going to talk about Mars. I feel like I'm saying this for every planet, but it's like I really like Mars too for some reason. But Mars deals with your drive, aggression, your physical energy overall. You can find out from this particular placement, how do you physically go about things? This can be your work ethic, you can find out a lot about by referencing your Mars placement, your temper, your sex drive, your physical endurance, basically just like how you assert yourself and just how you put out in general, like the energy that you are putting out from yourself. How do you do that? So your Mars can also tell you a lot about where your passions lie in this lifetime. So all in all, it's basically your energy force and how you go about using it. So analyzing this placement also can be really helpful because it's like, depending on what sign your Mars falls in, you can know a lot about your shortcomings, you know, and a lot about where you shine as well. Personally, I think it's really important. I mean, all the planets are really important, which is why I'm going through this, but as you can see, they all attack a different aspect to you. Next, we're going to talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet that represents your luck, optimism, and success. Depending on your Jupiter, you can tell if you're the type of person that tends to be considered an overall lucky person, or you're that type of person that kind of like, you think that like you have bad luck, you know, depending on your Jupiter placement, because it actually does deal with luck. You can have a placement where your Jupiter can provide you more favorable circumstances than the average person, or you can have a Jupiter placement where it's like the energies that Jupiter possesses does not work well with the sign that it's in. So you could be the type of person who's born under circumstances that are considered least favorable or not as favorable as like certain aspects. Okay. Jupiter is also known to deal with abundance, health, wealth, and just things that are basically key to your overall development and success in this life and good fortune. Now we're going to talk about Saturn. This is one of the most important planets. For me, I focus heavy on my Saturn placements, even like the transits and where it's at in my life right now, because I know the importance that it holds into your overall development. So Saturn symbolizes discipline, structure, limitations, and where just overall like where you really need to work in this life. So when you look at your Saturn placement, you can have a good understanding of what are your limitations in this life. Or what aspect of your life do you need to work harder than the average person? What aspect of your life is feeling the most pressure? Where do you feel like you're almost losing? Because sometimes the Saturnian energy can be very heavy to the point where you may feel like just a loss of power in that particular area. But as I said, in my opinion, this is one of the most important planets to really reference, because Saturn is there because it is a lesson teacher and it gives us our sense of responsibility in this life. And honestly, working with Saturn can really can actually bring forth positive things in your life. It's just that most people don't really favor this planet because sometimes the lessons that it brings forth can be hard lessons. The work that it's pushing you to do can actually be hard work, but it's like once you really zone in to that pressure that you're feeling and do what it is that Saturn is requiring you to do, once you work hard enough, like you will see the results. Saturn also deals with self-discipline. So basically, by analyzing the placement of Saturn in your chart, you can tell a lot about where you have a lot of self-discipline. Basically, Saturn is there to help you overcome obstacles at times in which the manner that it helps or that it pushes you, because it does create the obstacles, but the obstacles are there for you to realize that you need to work. Like this is an area that you need to work. This is an area that requires your effort. It's not something that's just gonna magically go away. Something that at the end of the day you need to work towards it, and if you do, you will overcome those obstacles. So next we're gonna talk about Uranus. So Uranus is basically the planet of originality. So where are you different? This planet tends to shine light on your unorthodox ways of being. As I said, it's basically your originality. It can also tell you a lot about how unconventional of a person you are. Do you tend to like think outside of the box, or do you tend to like come up with things that a lot of people are kind of like stunned by? They're like, whoa, like that's like Uranian energy. Like it's very outside of the box, futuristic, and different. Yeah, so when wanting to look at where you are unique as an individual, you would go to your Uranus placement, because it's going to tell you a lot about like where you are different as an individual and what makes you you. Okay, next we're going to talk about our second last planet, and that is going to be Neptune. So Neptune represents your imagination, your illusionary mind, and your dreams. So Neptune represents the mystical aspects of you. This is a side of you that sometimes is a little bit, it's not as easy to grasp about yourself if you're not in tune with yourself, but subconsciously driving you from day to day. Understanding your Neptune placements can also help you understand a lot about your subconscious mind as well. Yeah, it also assists you in understanding like your affairs with things like spirituality, intuition, and as I said, more of the mystical sides to life and where you fit into all of that. That's what Neptune is basically there for. And lastly, we're gonna be talking about Pluto. I actually like Pluto too. It's like dark and but Pluto is the planet that deals with the hidden and the unknown, death and rebirth, and just overall transformation. So what can you learn about analyzing your Pluto sign? Getting to know your Pluto sign can guide you a lot towards, or can assist you a lot towards understanding the areas in life that you're being guided to transform. Areas in you that need to die. Everybody goes through processes of death and rebirth every day, but by analyzing your Pluto, you can understand what particular things are more specific to you that you need to attack. Sometimes Pluto's a very, it's not very hard to work with, but it's like, because it's designed for these things to stay in the back of our minds, because as I said, it deals with like the hidden and the unknown. Sometimes it's really hard to connect to those aspects of ourselves consciously. There are times when it gets a little bit easier. Like currently, you see when you go through things like Pluto retrograde, retrogrades have the planet's energy almost spin backwards. So if this planet's energy is used to keeping things tucked away in your subconscious mind, when that is backwards, those things are brought straight up to the forefront. So it's kind of difficult in a sense to work with it, but there's certain times than others that it gets a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, so that's Pluto for you. Represents transformation, death, and rebirth, and transformation. So understanding this all in all can basically just help you understand a little bit more of the areas in life that you're being guided to grow towards and grow from. So yeah, I didn't want to make this video too long. So that's why I didn't want to go too in depth about each of these planets, because I feel like this video is already long, and it is. But that was my kind of like quick summary on each planet, what it's there for, what it symbolizes, and what aspect of you that you can learn more about by consulting where these particular planets lie in your chart. So thank you guys so much for tuning into my video. This was my very first astrology with Key video. I'm definitely going to be making more, but I kind of just wanted to start off with the foundations and the basics before I get into a little bit more intricate stuff. So I know for some people watching this, they might be like, okay, you know, this is like information that we already know, and that's okay. You just don't need to watch it. But I really just wanted to lay the foundations first. So the next couple astrology videos that I make are kind of just going to be out there laying the foundations for the more intricate stuff that I really want to get into in order to further assist the general public. So like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning into my video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.